A few seconds, folks. I'm Omicron's here, so I'm having some technical difficulties. Y'all hear YouTube? So I hit the wrong button because I couldn't see the buttons. But this is for my health and for your health. So I just wanted to make sure y'all can you, if y'all can't hear me, I'm kind of like a waitress. Sometimes you go to the restaurant and you can't hear the waitress, and I can't hear, and it's like, this is for your health. So technical difficulties, supply chains being destroyed, small businesses going under while Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos make money. This is all for your health. Trust me, folks. But I just want to let y'all know I'm taking it very seriously. I got a few of these just in case, but the Omicron virus is here, or the variant, and we got to talk about it, folks. So, this might look funny to you. This is not medical advice by any means necessary. This is what makes me feel comfortable, and it makes me feel like I'm protecting my environment, my community, my ancestors. I feel like, of course, on one hand, you have the responsibility to go and get vaccinated for your family, but, you also, in my perspective, should be trying to protect your ancestors from the past, even those who are already deceased and rest in peace in heaven. So if you don't want to take these measures, I understand. It looks foolish to somebody who watches Fox News, Sean Hannity, One American News Network, but this is what I want to do in my private home. So please respect my personal strategy against the Omicron virus. So we'll wait a few seconds for everybody to come in. And all jokes aside, I actually do have a real presentation to talk about the Omicron virus strand, variant, as some would say, variation of the other variant. And, we got to talk about it because this is probably never going to end at this rate. But in the meantime, I appreciate y'all. God bless. And I got a kombucha. I want to, I'm a little thirsty. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. In between sips, you're going to want to mask up. My eye. Hold on. Oh, I can't see, but it's for my health, folks. I think I just blinded myself, but it's better that way. If you can't see, it's easier to ignore all the nonsense going on. And then this way you just trust the experts, because it's, why should you see with your eyes when the experts can see for you? So I feel like vision's overrated. Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, all people who didn't need it to be successful. So it's just my thoughts. Appreciate y'all. Someone said I could barely hear him. It's only me. Charlize, it's for your health, okay? When you go to a restaurant and every waitress sounds like Kenny from South Park. Hey, how you doing? She comes up, she's looking. I'm like, what? Excuse, what's that, lady? Sure. And I'm like, I can't hear you. And then it's like, oh no, but it's better. It's better to do everything worse, So I apologize you can't hear me, but it's for your health. You have to understand this. Like, our ancestors, I'm not calling them dumb, but they thought they were so smart. They built houses, they built restaurants, they built buildings with bricks, with wood, right? And for hundreds of years, it was like, yeah, that's a good idea, right? We have indoor when it gets cold or warm outside, and we protect ourselves from the environment. But then Dr. Anthony Fauci, God bless that genius, totally not subservient to the pharmacy industry, totally not just a government bureaucrat, a respectable scientist who's in the lab every day working for us. He decided, what if instead of eating indoors like we've done for hundreds of years, we kick people out to the curb in the winter, or what we do is we eat indoors, outdoors. That was my favorite one. It's like, we can't eat indoors. We have to, you see this nice building that they built? You don't want to go in there. What you want to go in that igloo, that little like plastic igloo that we built, because you got to eat indoors, outdoors in order to defeat the new variant. I mean, use your damn brain, folks. What do I got to explain this to everybody? It's so simple. Don't eat in a brick building. Eat in a plastic building that they built to the side of the brick building. I mean, come on, folks. Have you never watched Brian Stelter before? The content creator from CNN? My favorite content creator from CNN is Anderson Cooper. He makes great content. Don Lemon, genius guy, smart guy, totally earned that position. All jokes aside, helmet up, folks. It's Omicron season. Sorry, I'm ignorant. I can't pronounce Greek, but I want to talk about, all jokes aside now. That was a parody, by the way. I don't want to get fact checked. Fact check. You don't need to wear a helmet. You just need 3.5 vaccinations. Speaking of fact checks, I want to read the funniest fact check I've ever seen. It's from, what is this? Associated Press, AP fact check. It says the World Health Organization did skip 2 letters of the Greek alphabet when naming Omicron, a new variant of the coronavirus. The agency said it did so to stop people from confusing new with new and to avoid causing offense to Xi. It's a common last name. So it almost looks like Babylon Bee. I had to like triple check because I was like, is this a Babylon Bee article or is this a real AP fact check? It's a real fact check. They're like, we didn't want to confuse people with the Greek alphabet, so we skipped new and G. We didn't want to offend people. It's like, well, I'm offended, so can we skip Omicron? Because it sounds like a damn transformer. And you know how us Americans are. Too many syllables, we start freaking out. So I'm offended. Can we move to the next one, please? World Health Organization. Jokes aside, I don't think this is ever going to end, and I'm going to explain why now that we got the funny out of the system, okay? I'm going to go through what's been happening over the last 80 years and why, according to what I'm looking at, this could probably last forever if it turns out that we don't have a cure. Maybe this is seasonal or bi-seasonal, like some other coronaviruses that we are familiar with. If that all turns out to be true and there's new variants, like this is not new science, they might act like it is. This is probably going to last until people say, hey, I'm kind of over all this. Yeah, we'll do what we can. We'll take the medication we want, but like, let's not act this way forever. Until then, it's going to happen forever. So here's why I came to that conclusion. You come to your own. This is just my perspective, but I will back it up with some, facts, mainstream sources, etc. So let's start real quick with something called influenza. Actually, let's just start with the difference between this. This is Mayo Clinic. That's like a mainstream article. I read this just so fact check. Where are you getting that? From your sources, mainstream Google stuff. What's the difference between COVID-19 and the flu? This is from Mayo Clinic. COVID-19 and flu are both contagious respiratory diseases caused by the viruses. COVID-19 is caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus, while the flu is caused by influenza A or B. So influenza and COVID-19, they cause similar respiratory illnesses, diseases, but one is from a coronavirus, one is from an influenza virus. Okay, what's the difference between COVID-19 and the common cold? This is from Mayo Clinic as well. It says both COVID-19 and common cold are caused by viruses. The COVID-19 is caused by SARS-CoV-2, while common cold is often caused by rhinoviruses. So the common cold is also caused by a coronavirus. Here's the thing with common cold. There is no herd immunity that's ever happened in modern history that I know of, because the CDC, this is straight off the CDC website, they say that the average adult gets common cold 2 to 3 times a year. So for a while, they were telling people with COVID-19, maybe we'll reach herd immunity. Maybe everybody will get their antibodies up, whether it be through vaccine or through natural immunity, and then this whole virus might disappear, which would have been cool, right? There's no more sickness. And now we could stop listening to the pharmacy industry that's making like, $250 billion over time, but whatever. But with the common cold, the reason I bring that up is because that is caused from a coronavirus as well, according to their sources. And we don't reach herd immunity. We get it a couple times a year, but that doesn't mean we reach herd immunity. Okay, the point I'm getting to is common cold doesn't go anywhere. It's here maybe forever. I don't know. I've never seen it go anywhere, and it might not. And that's not the end of the world. Now, when it comes to influenza, the flu, even though it's not a coronavirus, I think it shows you an insight to how their vaccines work for the flu, and how it also kind of never went anywhere over 80 years. So if you Google or DuckDuckGo, when was the first flu vaccine? The first flu vaccine, they started working on it in the 1930s. People credit scientists like Jonas Salk as one of the main inventors or creators. And I think most news sources say that the influenza vaccine started, mass production in the US around 1945. 1945, 75 years ago, I can't fully do I guess 76 years ago. It's been around for a long, long time, almost a century now. So if the flu vaccine, I understand, once again, I'm just being very clear. And the reason is because I know they want to fact check. I know they want to say, fact check, you think this is this. I'm not, just hear me out. I understand that it comes from influenza, but this idea that they can just create a vaccine and it's going to cure the thing, or it's going to reach natural immunity, or herd immunity, and it's going to disappear forever. That's not really the case, because the flu vaccine's been around for almost a century. And this is my favorite article. It's from 2019. It's the Scientific American. It says the flu vaccine selection suggests this year's shot may be off the mark. I'm going to read it directly. The strains chosen from the Southern Hemisphere vaccine suggest that the Northern Hemisphere one may not provide optimal protection. So even though they had vaccines for over 75 years for the flu, they've been working on it for my entire lifetime, and probably your entire lifetime, unless you're over the age of 75. If you are, thanks for being here. God bless you. And they weren't able to perfect it to the point where they were 100% accurate. And they admitted that. They didn't say, you can't say that we ever mess up, ever. We don't mess up. We're the greatest scientists on the planet. Our vaccine's the best thing ever. It's like Charlie's chocolate from the chocolate factory. You want it. You want it. You need to get it. It's great. It's the greatest thing ever. You got to get it. That's not what they used to say. They said, this one's here. This one is off the mark. And I'm going to read that and explain how they used to do the flu vaccine in 2019 and probably for a long time. This is from the Scientific American. It's never an easy business to predict which flu viruses will make people sick the following winter, and there's reason to believe 2 of the 4 choices made last winter for the upcoming season's vaccine could be off the mark. Twice a year, influenza experts meet at the World Health Organization to pore over surveillance data provided by countries around the world to try to predict which strains become the most dominant. The Northern Hemisphere strain selection meeting is held in late February. The Southern Hemisphere meeting occurs in late September. The selections that officials made last week for the Southern Hemisphere vaccine suggest 2 of the 4 viruses in the Northern Hemisphere vaccine that doctors and pharmacies are now pressing people to get, telling you to get, may not provide optimal protection this winter. Those 2 influenzas are A, H3N2, and influenza B, Victoria virus. Although influenza and coronavirus are different, the reason that I brought this up is this idea that they can just declare that a virus is going to disappear just because they created a medicine is just not how things work. They don't work that way for cancer. For many cases of diabetes, they don't work that way. It doesn't work that way for influenza. The common cold has never disappeared. We've never reached herd immunity on that, despite people getting it multiple times a year. So this flawed science that they're trying to tell people, the reason I brought that up is because this is common knowledge when it comes to certain viruses, where it's like, and I understand influenza is different, but it's not like they didn't know that there were different strains and different variants. They admitted, even after 75 years of the vaccine, they said, our vaccine's off the mark. We did our best. We tried to predict which one was going to be dominant, but we made a mistake. Like, that's how humble that they used to be. Like, yeah, we make mistakes. It's not easy to cure things and get the right medicine all the time, but we're trying. That was the vibe then. So the reason I bring that up is because when the coronavirus came out, this new SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 and this whole mania, their excuse when their vaccine was not as effective as they said it was, you had them saying it was 95% effective, then it was going to last this, and those numbers started declining, booster shot, right? And the excuse that they gave you, if they were just honest, I wouldn't care. But the excuse that they gave you in a lot of the mainstream articles, they were saying, we had no idea that the Delta variant was going to come. Man, we really had this thing figured out. We had the cure. I mean, it was really going to be that effective. We really had it so close. But then the Delta variant shocked nations around the world. We're shocked by the Delta variant. We never saw a variant coming. So it's like they're trying to convince you. I understand influenza and coronavirus is different, but they're trying to act like they've never heard of a variant or a new strain for any of these type of respiratory illnesses, or whether it be the coronavirus, common cold, the coronavirus that causes common cold, that has never disappeared, that they don't have an actual cure for, and it doesn't reach herd immunity, or an influenza virus, while it be different, new strains and variants is not new science by any stretch of the imagination. And I would think, since there are new strains to the coronavirus, there had to be some scientists on the planet who knew about, this could mutate. There could be different strains, because this is not new science. They've been doing this for 80 years with influenza, and they admitted like, oh, we're off the mark. But when this last vaccine was off the mark, they're like, we could have never planned for a Delta variant. Really? You never could have planned for a Delta variant? You never could have planned for an Omni? These things are just blowing your mind. Well, then maybe you're not that good at your job, okay? It's like if a freaking, if somebody was constructing a house and like a hurricane hit and like they didn't build it properly and they're like, we never could have predicted the hurt. Maybe you're not a good builder. You know what I'm saying? Because there's probably other builders out there that know the location where it's like, yeah, maybe we should plan for variants if that's a possibility. And if you didn't know that that was a possibility, you're not that good at your job and you should be questioned because it happened. So you were wrong. Either you're really dumb or you were lying, or, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened. Oh my goodness, we never could have imagined a different strain or a variant. I mean, it's only been written about for over 100 years in medical papers, but I guess, the leading pharmacy experts were just blown away by the Delta and the Omicron. The point I'm trying to get, referencing the common cold coronavirus and the influenza, the vaccine and the influenza, is multiple things. One, they've had this vaccine for 75, 80 plus years, and it didn't disappear. They've never created a complete cure. And also, they've admitted even recently that sometimes their vaccine didn't cover every strain or variant. That's very modern news. With the common cold, it's 2 to 3 times a year is the average that an adult gets it in America. You don't reach herd immunity. It's not like, oh, I got it twice, it's done. It's like, no, you keep getting it. So I guess certain things you don't, your body doesn't adjust to, and you don't reach herd immunity. So if you get the reason I'm telling you this, between the medication, between the coronavirus, and between the data we have on strains and variants and how it's clearly what's going on with this one, when do people think this is going to end? Because if they do exactly what they're doing for this, and they do the same thing over the course of time, 10, 30, 40 years, you could be facing a situation where this coronavirus is common like the common cold. Maybe not as common. You might not get it 2 to 3 times a year, hopefully, but it might never go away. It might be seasonal or bi-seasonal. There's reports of vaccinated people getting it twice in 1 month. That sucks, but this might not go away. They might not find a cure. They might be doing what they did with the flu vaccine, which was try to guess the best thing for you, but fall short of the mark, even 70 years in the past. If they couldn't figure it out for the flu and the flu vaccine for 75 years, what the heck makes people think that they can just snap their fingers and figure it out? They haven't figured it out for cancer. They haven't figured it out for Alzheimer's. It's not like, oh, there's a cure. Okay, I said there was one, so that's not how it works. It's not going to go away if people keep complying to well, if this happens, I'm going to put this on. If this happens, I'm going to get my 5th booster, 6th. It's like, if you want to get it, that's fine. But it's like, they're going to just keep this cycle going. It's like new variant, more fear, more booster, adjusted booster, new season, new strain, adjusted booster, more cases equal more testing equals now we have to lockdown, like, it's at a certain point, people are going to have to realize like the game they're playing, which is they're making a lot of money off this product. It's pretty convenient, actually, I would think. I'm not saying they're purposely doing this because I can't prove that, but it's like, we have this thing that works really, really well. It works so well that you're not allowed to not get it. That's how good it is. You can't not get it. You're literally not allowed. We will turn you into a second-tier citizen if you don't get our product. But you have to get it twice. And by twice, I mean 3 times, because eventually you're going to have to get the booster. And after you get the booster, we're going to tweak it for the Omicron or for the new variant. And then you're going to have to get it a 4th time. And then your kids are going to have to get it. But the best part about getting it 3 times and your kids getting it is that this, strain is going to mutate, or you're going to get that same strain again next year. So you're going to have to get it again. So you get what I'm saying? It's like, what a convenient thing for a company that's just going to keep shelling out this medication, like the flu vaccine, where every year people get it, which would be fine, but we got to go back to normal, folks. I hope people are paying attention. And I read the Scientific American because I just wanted to show you, although influenza is different from coronavirus, when it comes to vaccinations, it's not always easy to eliminate viruses. It's not always easy to eliminate sicknesses. In some cases, they don't. They can't. They try, they give you the best that they could give you, but they have been unsuccessful in eliminating common coronaviruses over the years and influenza. So, what makes people think this is going to go away? The thing that needs to go away is this psychosis over it. Like, for instance, there's people like, I'm not trying to call out people, but Scott Adams, I call him Spike Protein Scott because he's a vaccination supremacist in some ways. He thinks he's Mr. Special Boy. Spike Protein Scott Adams, I did Dilbert and I got my vaccine, so I'm a special boy. I should get a big star from the teacher because I listen so good. But in general, you have people that are, floating the idea or acting like little, sneaky people. And then you have also people in the government, people in politics that are trying to say, if you don't get the vaccine, maybe we shouldn't, maybe it shouldn't be like we should let you in the hospital because you're choosing to not get this. So they're trying to take away healthcare from certain people. They're taking away jobs, taking away careers. They're starting to really segregate and discriminate based on vaccination status. And their reasoning for it is, I'm not blaming Scott Adams for this, but the reasoning from the politicians and the government and the pharmacy company is, you're reckless. You are so reckless if you don't get the vaccine. So you don't really deserve access to everything like everyone else, because if you don't want to get that, that's on you. So if you need a hospital bed, should you really get it over that vaccinated person? And the obvious thing with this is, there are certain people, and I don't judge. Listen, you got one life. You got to have fun. You got to live it to the fullest. I think regardless of your situation, if you enjoy yourself, if you have a good time, you're living life right. Don't have too much fun though. But in general, there are people that are 400 pounds that chain smoke cigarettes every single day, right? And I would never suggest, well, I need my hospital bed over that person because that's really preventable. But they're trying to brainwash people in the media, in politics, in the pharmacy industry, on the television. They're trying to brainwash people to say, this person, if we were to do a comparison, this person who's 400 pounds, who chain smokes cigarettes every day, he's responsible because he got the COVID shot. I see people promoting it that are just way out of shape and way don't take care of themselves. I'm the responsible one because I got the pharmacy thing. And anomaly, you play sports, you work out. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I take care of myself more than the average person. That's not even really that hard to do because the average person in America does not take care of themselves. But they're trying to act like they're the responsible ones. Like Scott Adams is like, well, I got the vaccine. It's like, bro, you look like your arms would snap in half if you did 5 push-ups. You should get Dilbert to do push-ups for you. Dilbert looks strong. Your little cartoon boy. You don't look strong, which is fine because you're older. But I'm just saying, it's like, oh, I'm so responsible. I'm the size of the Michelin Man, and I chain smoke cigarettes, and I'm a good boy. But Kyrie Irving, he really doesn't deserve a hospital bed. And I'm not saying Scott said that, but there are people that are like, man, can you believe Aaron Rodgers? I'm like, you mean Aaron Rodgers from the Packers, one of the most athletic people on the planet, on earth? That's who you're mad at. You're saying he's not responsible health-wise because he didn't get a pharmacy injection. So this is painting this idea that people who line up by, yearly or whenever to get a injection from Pfizer, Moderna are somehow more healthy and and that's not how health works at all. If I work out and I exercise and I eat well and I get out and exercise and someone just sits in the corner and chain smokes cigarettes and then just goes and gets a shot, that doesn't make them more healthy than you, but that's how they're trying to do this whole reframing of society. Some would call it a great reset. Others would call it build back better. Others would call it medical tyranny. That's what they're trying to do. And they're successfully getting away with it in certain health industries, at corporations, in sports. It's working for them. Why is it working for them? Because people are complying. Let's give an example for people that are pretty wealthy. Like the NBA is very wealthy. You had 3 teams that had to get vaccinated. You had the Golden State Warriors. I use this example because if this doesn't snap people out of how ridiculous this is, I don't know what will. And if you think it's going to stop if you guys comply to this, the people running the show are laughing hysterically. Like they're probably thinking like, these people are so dumb. They just keep listening to us. You had the Golden State Warriors, because they're in San Francisco, the Knicks and the Nets, who are both in New York City. They had to get vaccinated. But if Kyrie Irving, who plays for the Nets, if he were to get traded to the Houston Rockets, he could go play in New York City, because the away team, if you come to the stadium from a different state, you're allowed to play in the stadium. Only the home team's not allowed to play. So there are unvaccinated people playing at the Golden State Warrior Arena. They just can't be on the Golden State team. How does that make any sense? Andrew Wiggins, if he would have got traded and then played in San Francisco, he would, or wherever Golden State plays outside of San Francisco, he would have been allowed. It doesn't make sense, but everybody's doing it. You have wealthy millionaire athletes who are the strongest people on the planet, and every single person except for Kyrie Irving on those three teams got vaccinated. So you're sending the signal to these people, let's just keep doing it, right? We're not going to, why would we stop doing it when everybody keeps listening? And the reason I say that is because I don't care if people get it or not, but you got people getting it against their will, thinking, oh, if I just get this shot, then I can play basketball and I'll go back to normal. No, you're not going back to normal. Now there's an Omicron. Now they're telling people they need to get vaccinated and get a booster shot, or else they're going to, and this is going to continue forever. And the more they do that, they're also going to clamp down on your First Amendment right. Eventually, they're going to try to clamp down on your Second Amendment right. Big government's going to close in on every aspect of society while you're, talking about this stuff. So I pray that people come to their senses. Hopefully that example helped. For some people it does. For some people it doesn't. But I see even people that are conservative, Republican, very wise people. It's not just liberals. Obviously liberals are falling for it the hardest, but there are millions of people who are Republicans who watch Fox News who are buying into the hysteria. It's a lot of, I think, people like mothers and people who are older, because mothers like to clean a lot of, I like to be clean. I like to be safe. I want my kids safe. So they're tapping into that fear and telling people, you're going to go back to normal if you just keep freaking out and getting in line. But it's like the more you do it, the more they keep going. So, as far as the equation that they're going by, it's like they're trying to tell you that this coronavirus or this illness caused by a coronavirus it's okay to take away your freedom, liberty, business, job, access to travel, access to the world. It's okay to just eliminate all of that and treat you like a serf if the cases get too high. We have to reframe this whole situation. We lost the framing. 2016 to 2019 was Trump world. Everything was Trump. You love him, you hate him. The media hates him. He's trying to do the right thing. Once 2020 hit, Trump lost because the world reframed. It went from Trump world, let's talk about Trump, to COVID world. And they reframed everything. They reframed how you thought about everything. There's been tuberculosis, cancer, flu. There's been all sorts of crazy stuff. There's been swine flu. There's been all sorts of stuff, but never have they successfully duped people into thinking if the cases get this high, we can lock down. If the cases get this high, we can extend the lockdown. If the cases get this high, we can close your business but open your business. If the deaths get this high, we can do it for longer. If the PCR test gets shoved up your nose once a week and you test positive, we can throw you in here. We could take you in here. And you're not allowed to go back to normal until you get the vaccination. And I hate to be an I told you so type of person, but one of the biggest excuses I heard on the right wing back in April, May, June, I said, this is like, we got to get back to normal. And I'm not blaming this person or this person, but I'm like, they've reframed the world. They've rewired the world to think that it's okay to lose and get all this stuff stolen from you just because they're counting cases. They're counting cases, they're counting deaths, they're counting PCR tests, and that's the new normal. And everybody's buying into it. And they said, no, you don't understand. We got to do Operation Warp Speed. We got to get the vaccine out. And once the vaccine's available, then we're going to be free. And I said, that's not going to happen. And I knew it wasn't going to happen because it's like, it's all elementary school math. When you figure out how they're counting, when you figure out how this stuff works, I don't think I'm like doing like crazy equations. I'm just like looking at, okay, what excuse did they give you to do this? If they can do it for that, they can do it for that. Like I told somebody this and they said, I never thought of it that way. But it's like, I don't care if you got vaccinated, but if they can tell you, you need 2 shots in order to leave Canada, or you need 2 shots in order to go to Europe, or you need 2 shots in order to go to Africa, or you can't, then they can say you need 5 shots or you need 50 shots. And if it's that medication, they can say this medication. And Big Pharma is one of the greediest corporations on the planet. If you look at the amount of pills people took 40 years ago versus now, it's been like a bell curve. People take more and more and more. The average person's on more pills. Health hasn't gotten better. I'm not blaming them particularly because self-accountability exists, but I wouldn't say that the health in America is better because it's actually not. We were always getting living longer, and now life expectancy has gone backwards, mainly due to opioid overdoses and suicides, which, can be directly contributed in some cases to big pharma. So they're not going to stop doing this. They keep telling you, like, if you do this, you like Trump, right? Or you hate Trump, right? Well, the vaccine, Fauci said the vaccine's going to be available, or Trump gave it to you. So, he's saving you. And then, like, once that comes, then they're like, yeah, well, now we got another thing. So the point I'm trying to get to without rambling on is simple. We have to reframe society, not by saying this or that, but saying, listen, I understand people are getting sick. I understand that there are illnesses. I understand that there are going to be new illnesses, and it's horrible, and we can do the most, but never bow down to this idea that you're a disgusting swine because you won't get an injection. And somebody that chain smokes that's 500 pounds that gets a Pfizer shot, that doesn't make them better than you. It doesn't make them healthy. That's not how health works. This is psychosis. And if we bow down to this narrative, it's never going to end. So I hope we can reframe society, because that's how they got us. And that's why sometimes people are like, oh, run for office, run for office. Yeah, politics is important, but really the media is important. If you can convince 500 million people that it makes sense to be a slave or a serf or a second-tier citizen for 4 months because there's a new virus and you need an injection in order to be set free, it's our fault. We have to reframe the narrative. We have to reframe the world, because 2016 to 2019 was Trump world. He dominated the narrative. He dominated the media. The liberals hated him. The conservatives loved him. Overseas, everybody was talking about Trump, either this or that. He dominated and took over, really, like the zeitgeist of the world. And 2020, once COVID hit, it changed the wiring of how everybody thought. And now that is like the new world that we live in. It's like they have never rescinded their powers. In New York City, I believe or New York, I don't know if it was the city or the whole state, but I believe recently I read that they have extended their emergency powers. And people are like, oh man, why are they doing this? The cases don't really add up to that, or the deaths don't add up. Like, it doesn't make sense to extend the emergency. In a state of emergency, you get like dictator style powers. You get to do whatever you want. There's clauses like the PrEP Act, if you do it on a national level, that says that vaccine manufacturers are not liable for injuries, side effects, or deaths under the state of emergency. That's an actual act that George Bush passed. I always talked about it. Look it up. It's called the PrEP Act. And it says in a national emergency or a health emergency or a public crisis, I can't remember how they word it, a health crisis, if that is declared, now when pharma makes a product, they are not liable for side effects, injuries, or death. So you have pharmacy companies, you have politicians, you have leaders and governors and mayors who they don't want to give this up. They don't want to give their power up. They don't want to go back to the way that it used to be, because they didn't used to have so much power. So they're going to keep extending this. They don't need a certain case count. So without dragging on too much, I'll answer some questions and listen. Here's a way that I've been trying to reframe the narrative for a long time, which has been talking about health. And I think I was clearly not successful enough, because this stuff is still going on. But I think I was successful in avoiding really bad press or really bad, opposition, because no one could really counter it, which was during the lockdowns. There was a huge, I would say collateral damage was the word I was looking for, the phrase I was looking for, collateral damage of lockdowns. Mental health got worse. Obesity went up. Childhood obesity went up. People got more suicidal. Elderly people weren't allowed to exercise and see people, which is not just bad for their mental health, but it's bad for their physical health. When you get older, you have to move. You have to see people. Let's lock grandma inside. This is what really bothered me back in that time. You had even Republicans would be like, let's just lock up the grandparents and then we'll all go back to normal. And I'm like, don't lock up your grandparents. That's not healthy. Who told? This is what the left does. They make a huge new narrative and the right just concedes a little bit and then like does something stupid. And it's like, elderly people more than anybody, they need to walk as well. They're not caged animals. Let's just keep grandma inside her room. It's like, this was always the case. Even the flu hits older if you're harder. Common cold hits you older if you're harder. I'm not saying it's not bad to get COVID. I'm just saying like pneumonia can be deadly when you're over 80. So this was always the case, but you never locked your grandma or your grandfather in their room and said, well, there's pneumonia and there's the flu outside. So you're just going to sit here and your bones are going to get weaker and your muscles are going to deteriorate and you're going to get depressed. This is evil. I think if they did an honest study, which they'll never do, they would find that lockdowns killed way more people than they saved on every angle, from opioid abuse to suicide to elderly abuse to destroying the mind, body, and spirit of elderly people. Lockdowns are deadly. Did you ever hear a politician say that? No. The left wing said lockdowns are good. The right wing said lockdowns are good. And the bare minimum after 2 months, you got someone like DeSantis say, well, let's get the elderly vaccinated and quarantine them, and then we'll go back to normal. And it's like, yeah, sure, I appreciate that you're better than the left, but this is what I'm talking about, reframing the narrative. So hopefully people are learning, because if you study how vaccines have worked for the past 80 years for the flu, I'm not saying it's the same, but they weren't able to find a cure for 80 years. If you look at coronaviruses like the common cold, it doesn't disappear. If you combine those two things, and this is a possibility, new variants like Omicron or whatever the hell they're calling it, a vaccine that never seems to eliminate the virus, which this is very well looking like it could be, this is never going away, and they don't want it to go away. So I pray that people figure this out and just reject it. It's so clear on every level. Ask me a few questions. I'll hang out for a little bit, hopefully not too long. I appreciate y'all, but definitely, I don't know. I would hope that people are starting to figure it out now, but I'm in some ways extremely optimistic as always. But in other ways, I'm like certain people, I'm like, I don't know. It's like they got certain people and I'm like, dang. Someone said lockdowns have caused my teen daughter to become extremely depressed. Oh, for sure. And if you say stuff like this, it's harder to counter. It's not easy for the left or the media to say anything about it because they know it's true. Reginald, what's up? Thank you. He said, I caught a lie. Appreciate you for being here. Jeremy said, am I hopeful about the future? I am, because I think that in many ways, you create your own reality. There's certain people that are living in cities that are just hell right now. And I know that some people, they want to be there, they have to be there for work. But at a certain point, like, I don't live this in the same reality as like a liberal who lives in Los Angeles. Like a liberal who lives in Los Angeles, they got to put this on every day. They're getting yelled at, they're getting tested, they have vaccine cards. I live somewhere where they don't do that. So that's the type of person I am. I'm optimistic because I'm not a victim. I don't just sit around and feel bad for myself. If I got to move, I got to move. If I got to go to Idaho or Florida or South Dakota or Wyoming, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be ideal. I'm not saying not ideal, but that's just life. Nothing's easy. So nothing goes as planned. I don't think, a lot of things happen. So I'm optimistic because I'm not bowing down. I'm not listening. And, I think a lot of the people that are really bearing the brunt of this are kind of caving a little bit. But, there's also people who are getting whomped by the system, losing jobs, etc. But, I'm optimistic, yeah, because I'm not participating in this, and I haven't for a while. Someone said break away from society norms. I had to cancel my trip to Paris. I was supposed to leave tomorrow. I'm sorry to hear that. It's a creepy time to travel because you never know if you're going to get stuck somewhere. You can get stuck somewhere. They could force vaccinate you. Like, I personally believe, I'm not trying to scare people, but it's not going to happen in America first. But they're eventually going to literally force vaccinate people. Like, you get what I'm saying? These people are not operating off of logic or reason or science. They don't care that this vaccine doesn't eliminate the virus. They don't care that you could still get it or spread it. They don't care that scientifically you could vaccinate 100% of the people in a population, keep them inside, and the virus would still spread at a certain point. They don't care about any of that. So eventually, I think in some of these countries like Australia or Austria or wherever, they're literally going to start holding people down and vaccinating them. Like, I think that's the next step in the next couple of years that they're going to do that. It's not going to happen in America for sure, at least not first. And, that's where the Second Amendment comes in. If somebody tries to violently, stick a needle in your arm, that's like a violent attack. And that's why people have the right to defend themselves. But in other countries, I think that's where this is going. I think, real quick, and then I'll answer another question. When I talk to most people, a lot of people get it, but I feel bad because most people are good people, right? So they're not thinking like these people are thinking. They're like, oh, this is going to end soon, right? This is going to go away soon. Oh yeah, no, no, no. They're just going to give this all back, but that's not how it works. Like at a certain point, there was no income tax. There weren't. But then they said we're going to do this for this reason, and then they did it, and it never went away, and it grew and it grew and it grew. So this is kind of like that. It's not just going to magically go back to you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, it would be like if you got fired from your job or you got like kicked off an NBA team and you're like, oh yeah, I'll get picked up again. It's like you might get back on a team, but you gotta play good. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't feel bad for us because I'm like, we gotta step it up. I feel like people are too nice, even here. People are way too nice in Europe and Canada, but even here, people are like, even conservatives like, yeah, it's just, it'll go back soon. Like, why? Why is it gonna go back? Like things don't happen for no reason. You have to create the new normal and say, combat the narrative, really push back. That's where I want to say, like, to compliment, somebody that I think has done a really good job in the last 5-6 months, regardless of what do you think about his flaws or what, some of his policies, Ron DeSantis. And people don't understand, like, yes, policy matters. And I think you need to look at what they do. But also when it comes to COVID, reframing the mindset is huge, and policy will often follow that. So he's one of the really only, I would say maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene a little bit. He's like reframing the narrative. No, I'm going to fine you $5,000 if you become authoritarian. We need like a lot more people in Republican media doing that, a lot more people in politics doing that, a lot more business owners doing that, people that are willing to really stand up for themselves. And I don't know what it's going to take, but hopefully over time, people start to see through it. I don't know. You can't force somebody to do it, though. I'm going to read this. Someone said, if 75 years of the research in vaccines didn't eliminate the common flu, then how do you expect the same research to find a vaccine that eliminates a novel virus? Exactly. That was the point of my earlier, little segment. Exactly. That's how certain things work. The common flu or the influenza, there has not been a vaccine that has been able to completely eliminate it in 80 years. And they've even admitted, like I said, up to 2019 that they're off the mark sometimes. This is the weird part. Like people don't realize who big pharma is. They're like, yeah, it's like you gotta know who you're dealing with here. These aren't like they don't always strike gold, but they're convincing you that they are when they're not. But whatever. Someone said we need to stand up for ourselves and not be controlled. Someone said, why are people still listening to Fauci? Well, I don't know. I guess a lot of people trust him. It's wild to me that people are still like doing this all the time. But that I feel like that's where like life kind of blesses you if you do something. Like that's where I think about this, like everybody doesn't deserve everything if you're not willing to work for it. Like America was free. We had the First Amendment. We had the Second Amendment. America was free, and now it's becoming not free. But I don't think we deserve to be free. I'm not saying that like I hate America. I love America, but I'm trying to challenge my brothers and sisters in America. We don't really deserve to be free right now. You know what I'm saying? When I talk to like this will go away or like this, it's like you get what you put in. If enough people said no, I want to give you an example. There's a restaurant called Basilico's. They've been on CNN. They've been on a lot of news sources because they never shut down. I've talked to the owner, Tony, multiple times. He's a great man, a great American. And talking to him, I feel like I'm not gonna say I'm talking to myself, but we get along very well because we both kind of have the same energy. Where he's like, all these people are flying Trump flags. Why don't they fly American flags? And the point he was trying to get to is like when Trump said 15 days to slow the spread, he said, I never shut down. I won't do it. I'm not listening. And like if every Republican business owner did that or did half of what Tony did, this country would be a different country. That's where I feel like, I talk about the right a lot more than a lot of other conservatives. It's not because I hate the right. It's not because I'm a Democrat in disguise. It's because it's easy to say, oh, Joe Biden, oh, liberals, oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, that's low hanging fruit. And a lot of it's true. But however, a lot of people like to live vicariously through the movement, but they're not really ready to do something themselves. Like, for instance, people might get mad that I say this, but, Basilicos has made it very clear that they're not doing masking. Have you heard anything from the Trump Towers or the Trump Hotel? In some cases, they were forced masking people in cities. They might still be in liberal cities. I'm not sure. They have COVID policies on their website. They're following the protocols of the CDC as well. Even in Florida, they have on their website that the, vaccinated can take their mask off. Are they just doing it to protect themselves against the government? Probably. Are they enforcing it? Probably not in Florida, but probably in DC. But the point, it's like we're just losing ground, and there's not a lot of people in power that are like stepping up. So, we get what we deserve. We need more people to really like do something. Everybody doesn't have to do everything, but it's like if everyone put their foot down for 3 weeks, which might happen with the truckers, maybe the truckers are going to be the final straw, and they're going to really, set something in motion. But I think a lot of people are kind of caving. Is there a chance I'll run for office? No, I'm the type of person. I'm not running. Maybe like in 30 years or something, but I'm not interested. I'm interested in media, music. I don't want to run for office. But if I did, I would study law and stuff. I wouldn't just run. Someone said I'm in Florida. I rarely see people wearing masks. I live in California, where I'm at. Rarely I see masks as well because I live in a conservative area. But you know, we'll see what happens with airlines and travel. It's a creepy time. Someone said it's going to be a long winter. We'll see what happens. All right. I might do a few more. What is it? 47 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this under an hour. Someone said travel stocks started tanking last week. Yeah, I've been saying this for a while. If you guys have been watching, but the seasonal flu, like flu season was always the winter. It's flu season. The winter's flu season because in the winter, maybe because of the weather, maybe because of the changing, of everything. There's a lot of changes that happen from fall to winter. I don't have to tell you. It's always been a season that has been riddled with influenza, common cold, the coronavirus, and also respiratory illnesses. Like this is not new. This is the type of reframing that I'm trying to like get people to understand. And I know a lot of people do. I'm not trying to like be condescending about it, but it's like in my entire lifetime, there is no mystery about the winter. It's always been riddled with respiratory illnesses higher. So now I said 5 months ago, they're probably going to try to do more lockdowns and more travel bans, etc. in the winter. How did I know that? I try to explain to people because people are like, sometimes I show people what I said 2 years ago. People are like, dude, you're a prophet. You're a wizard. And I'm like, I could be cocky and be like, oh my God, I'm the best. It's not hard. It's not even hard to do what I'm doing. I don't even want credit for it. It's like, it's the winter. So if they've been consistently saying, well, cases are up, so now we could take away your freedom, aren't they going to go up in the winter? I mean, it would be wild if coronavirus cases didn't go up in the winter. I would be shocked if they went down. It's the winter. This is not an abnormal thing to do. So they already have this stuff planned. It's going to be like, oh man, state of emergency. Oh man, shut down South Africa. Oh man, we really got to do more restriction stuff because the cases are going up. But nobody talks about how winter is the winter. Like that was they're going to do this forever. Oh, it's the flu season and the flu cases are up. Let's take away all your stuff. This was never a thing until coronavirus, but then now they've normalized it. So there's going to be curves like this probably for the rest of your life. If you want to go from the flu from 1945 when they created the flu vaccine and put it out to now, I don't know for sure because I haven't studied, but I'm guessing it went like this for the whole time because it's like winter, not winter, winter, not winter, winter, not winter. It doesn't flatline. So they're sending people this idea that anytime that chart spikes, that's when you really got to be afraid. That's when you really got to lock down. In the winter, sure, definitely be more cautious and think about stuff. If you're really afraid of the flu or the coronavirus, think twice about what you're doing, wash your hands, etc. But they've brainwashed people to think that a bump in a chart means that it's okay to do what they're doing. So they're never going to stop it because in the winter, there's going to be a bump probably. I mean, it would be shocking if there was no bump in the winter. So I said this 5 months ago, like they're going to do more restrictions in the winter. My friend got fired in New York City. He worked in New York City. He had a great job. He got fired. I told him, and I still believe this because they're going back to work soon, right? They haven't gone back to the office yet, but they're gearing up to go back to the office in December. And I told him, I said, since they're semi-firing you or whatever, do you think you might get your job back? Because they're probably going to close down the office again, and they're going to feel stupid. They fired my friend because he doesn't want to go to the office or he won't get the vaccine. And I could almost guarantee whether it be in December, January, or February, they're probably going to send people back home because these idiot liberals in New York City, they're basing it off of cases and they're doing it with something that's probably impossible to eliminate. So if you work in an office with 100 people and one person gets COVID, they shut down the whole office and everyone goes home. If there's too many cases in New York in winter, which there's going to be in December and in a few weeks it's going to spike, then they're going to lock everybody down. So they're firing people for not wanting to go to the office and they're not going to be in the office. These people, they don't know what they're doing. Get away from them. I mean, I know people have to get a job, but I can almost guarantee that a lot of these companies that are firing people because they want to go back to the office with vaccinated only people, they're going to end up closing their own businesses like a lot of schools did and like a lot of companies already have. They brought everyone back and then some people got some cases. They called it a spike and then they sent everyone back to Zoom calls and Zoom learning. Like these people are idiots, and it's probably going to happen every year. It's so crazy. Like I know there's people that aren't just liberals and they don't believe Fauci, but there's other people that are like, yeah, like this and I'm like, come on, guys. Real in the Can said you were full of it. What do you think I'm filled with, Real in the Can? Ambition, the Holy Spirit, kombucha. What do you think I'm filled with, Real in the Can? I'll give you a second to say what you think I'm full of. Someone said, I think Trump will run in 2022. Let's pray that he runs for something. I would support him. I would much rather him run for local office than for president. I would support Trump in a local run. I think that would be awesome. Him running for governor or mayor or something. I would actually like that, to be honest. I think, or Senate, if Trump ran for Senate, that would be kind of based. President, I'm not feeling it, but a local position or Senate or House, I think that would be fun. He's an upgrade from a lot of those idiots for sure. Let me see. Did this guy answer? Real? What am I filled with? Let me see. Did he answer? No. Okay. Someone said, hi, find a good naturopath. I don't like to give medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but here's what I can tell people pretty confidently. Whether you get injected or not with Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and I could say this with full confidence, real health starts from within. It's not all about how much injections you get. Working out, cardio, exercise, mental health, going on walks, getting fresh air, the time you spend with people versus the time you're alone, having a good work life balance, having a good social, hang out by yourself balance. This is the root of health. It's not going to make you perfect, but I mean, this is like an IQ test. If anybody thinks that, you can do whatever you want and just get injected and that's like the magic cure, that's where I don't feel bad for America. I love America. I'm doing what I can to help my country, but this is really on us. This is a product of a generation or multiple generations, because it's all of us that wanted to, buy the pills on the commercials, the microwave food. Like everybody wants it easy. And then everybody gets unhealthy because nobody takes care of themselves. And then they want to hear like, oh, I've never bought in a pill on television. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever buy one of these television pills. But somebody has to be buying them, and I'm not trying to blame you if you did, but somebody has to be buying them because they keep running ads all the time and they're running all these ads. So they must be really profitable. So it's like, everybody wants to hear. And I've noticed a trend. I'm not trying to be rude because there's some really healthy people that, got the vaccine as well. But it seems to be a trend that Fauci and the pharmacy industry and Democrats and some Republicans are trying to brainwash people that don't take care of themselves into thinking, well, if I just get this, then, I'm good. I'm a good person. I'm a healthy person. No, you're not. That's not what health is. But it's convenient for these corporations if you don't take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to be on a couple pills. You're going to get in line for the shot every year. So I do notice a trend of like people that, they're tapping into that American issue that we've had for decades, which is like, nobody wants to hear the hard truth. Everybody wants to take the quick pill or the quick meal. And I'm not saying that I don't make quick meals, because I'm really lazy sometimes when it comes to cooking, and I do as well. But, if I get fat and my stomach grows because I'm eating like microwavable trash, I don't turn and say, oh, let me take a pill and get a vaccine and then I'm healthy. Like, no, I'm not. That's not the solution. But that's what, our nation has really become. We've become a pill popping, commercial buying, nation. So this narrative was easy for not just liberals, but a lot of conservatives too, because, the tough truth is like, yeah, I got to make changes in my life. And the easy lie is like, do you want to look like this lady? And she's just like, and they're like, eat this pill. And like side effects are blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll just eat the pill. It's like, they're tapping into that energy that we have in America. Someone said I have adverse reactions to tyranny. I hear you. Someone said Laura said I get no V's. I'm 66 and I don't take medication. I'm not taking this. I'm retiring as my company is mandating it. Well, God bless you, Laura. One of the healthiest elderly people I've ever talked to in my life is G. Edward Griffin. If you guys have seen my interviews or segments with G. Edward Griffin, I'm very glad that I got to do those. G. Edward Griffin is 90 years old, right? He's 90 years old. He looks amazing. For 90 years old, he looks like he's like 60. He looks incredible. He doesn't take any pharmacy pills. He doesn't do any of that stuff. So this is the really wicked part. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen somebody 90 that looks as healthy as J. Edward Griffin. And he has a certain regimen that he sticks to. So now you have the government, which has made our country fatter, which has made our country more addicted to pills, which is directly responsible in many ways, the pharmacy industry, for opioid overdoses and the life expectancy going backwards. Not only are they screwing with our health, but now they're trying to get to healthy people and say, if you don't take our products, we're going to kick you out of society. And this is what I want to get to people, whether you took this vaccine or not. If you submit to this idea that an industry that is that corrupt can say, regardless of who you are, how healthy you are, your history, your genetics, your side effects, whatever, regardless of who you are, if you don't get this product, we're going to take this stuff away. Like, this is going to World War II levels of tyranny. How did it happen in Germany? How did it happen in the Bolshevik Revolution? Like this, people being lazy, people being complacent, and people not facing evil and saying that's evil. And people are thinking, oh, well, it's not that bad. It is that bad. And it's going to get that bad because if you allow people to do this, it's not a maybe. They're going to escalate it. So this is beyond evil what they're doing. and they're not going to stop. So whether you got 2 vaccines, 3 vaccines, or 0 vaccines, people need to join the side of saying no to these people, or else they're going to make it uncomfortable for everyone. So, and this is the conversation I get with a lot of people. Someone said my dad doesn't take any meds at 83, and that's amazing. And there's some dads that take a lot of meds at 83, and they're in good shape too. And that's the beautiful thing about America. Whether you're on 3 pills or 0 pills, it's got to be your choice. You can't get forced by the government or the corporate class. Regardless of who you are or what your secret is, this is like some people say to me, like, I was in a podcast with Ryan Long, and he was like, why do you not want to get this? Like, is it a president's thing? Do you really not want the medication? It's a lot of things, but yeah, I feel violated, beyond violated. Like, I have a certain health regimen. Like, sometimes I wake up at 7:30 and, I like to go play soccer or basketball, or I do stuff. I'm very active. When the government tells me you can't do that, in Australia, they say you're not allowed to go there. You're not allowed to play basketball. Like, they're taking away things that are healthy and telling you, we want you to get a pharmacy product or else you're not going to be part of society. I don't understand how people don't understand where this is going. You get what I'm saying? Like, what the conspiracy theory is that this is just going to end tomorrow and they're going to give you all their stuff back. Like, they're taking away exercise, they're taking away gyms, they're taking away restaurants, and they're forcing people to get pharmacy products while taking away healthy options that people do. So I will never be told what to eat or what to drink. I'll take recommendations. I've taken antibiotics before. I've taken injections before. It's not that I'm against certain type of medication, but it's like, if you want to get an IV drip, you get one, but you can't have the government or corporate class, especially big pharma, the number one lobbyists, the politicians, some of these companies have the biggest criminal fine in US history that they paid. You can't allow them to do this. Like, this is how World War II level tyranny started, and there's a lot of things. I think today is the Holodomor, if I'm pronouncing that right. I think today is from what I read, is the Holodomor anniversary, which is a semi or somewhat genocidal thing that nobody learns about in school. And things like the Bolshevik Revolution, which they don't really talk about in school. Like, these things really happened in history. And like, how did it happen? It happened because they started doing evil things, dehumanizing people, treating them like dirt, treating them like slaves, and then they starve them to death. So the Holodomor, Holodomor, I don't pronounce it right, but these are things that nobody even knows about. But it's like, how did that happen in World War II? How did it escalate? How did those people do that and do that? And it's like, I'm not trying to oversay it, but it's like, from people being complacent and some people just going along with what they thought was good, like you got people in corporations that are telling people, you can't work here if you don't get a pharmacy injection. That person's the same type of person who'd probably work with the communists and be like, yo, yeah, sorry dude, I'm just trying to help myself. And then Gina Carano says that and they're like, oh, you can't say that, that's you get fired for that. It's like, okay. Let's read some comments. Someone said next year, financial war with China. Possibly. We'll see what happens. I know there's other global players, but I think in America, like, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, or maybe it comes off wrong or something, but a lot of people think that certain liberals are working with China. And that's because certain liberals are working with China. And honestly, I think more than anything, a lot of people are like afraid of China. They're afraid of losing their business. Like when it comes to the NBA, it's huge business and China lays down certain rules. It's like when Google, they started censoring things overseas because they were like, well, that's the rules in that country and we're going to follow that country. Now, all of a sudden, Google's doing it in America. So there are people that work with China. There are people that sell us out to China. But I would say in American politics, and people might not agree, and I don't really care because I do think some people are sold out. But in America, there's a battle going on between right and left. But if you ask me, I don't think the battle, if you really get to the core of the ideology, and people might not want to hear this, but if you get to the core ideology, not of the base, I'm not talking about of like conservatives base, but when you get to the core ideology of the Republican Party and Trump and the RNC and the core ideology of the left and, the Biden and the people that are running the show there, the battle in America is between Zionism on the right wing and Bolshevikism on the left wing, and they're kind of battling to battle China. A lot of these people that you think loves China, they'll work with them, but they're actually trying to, in a weird way, fight China. But it's not like American patriots versus China. It's like, no, they're the Republican Party, the main core ideology there is Zionism. And on the left wing, they have a little bit of that, but they're also kind of just following this like commie weirdo version where they hate America. They don't even like us or anyone else. So they're dueling, but whoever comes victorious out of that battle, they're trying to take on China. Like even Biden, they'll pretend to work with China or whatever. But I think they're, the people running the show there, they see China as a threat. I just don't think they know what they're doing. I think the right has like a smarter, clearly plan. But you could look at people like George Soros. He actually doesn't like China because there's power battles going on between their worldview and China's worldview. China's looking at a Chinese nationalist worldview, and some of these people are, they have a different idea for their open society or whatever, ideas they have of grandiose social welfare. And someone said he can't manipulate China due to their strict nationalism. Yeah, definitely. I think there's certain countries that drop the hammer really fast. That's the thing with China. It's like on one hand, I'm not interested in their ideology or their worldview, but they do what's best for the state. So if you're this liberal, open society trying to go into China, they're like, no, you're not doing that here. You like go missing if you're like, I don't know. People are like, they say something and they're just like gone. They're like, where did that person go? They're like, I don't know, but the state is doing really good. We're really working together. You're like, but where did that CEO go? They're like, who? They're like, oh no, he'll come back in a few months. He's just getting re-educated. He'll learn. Someone said, which way is hip hop culture leaning? Someone said, cool song with Zuby. Thank you. I think I'm gonna post it. I've been busy. I think honestly, I think hip hop is starting to come towards the truth more. Like I think people like Tom McDonald and Bryson and stuff, and High Res and myself and Zuby and others. But I think it's starting to be way more cool to be like conservative or Christian and stuff. So I see optimism there, but I don't pay attention to like other rappers because it's not like everybody hangs out together. It's like there's certain rappers, they tour by themselves. I'm not interested in like what the mainstream's doing, but I think for the first time in a while, the mainstream's being challenged by, people that are independent and have a better message. So I think it's good on that side. The great thing about this world, regardless of who you are, whether it's hip hop, whatever, there's a niche market for everything. So I think if you are good at what you do and you're persistent and you're smart, you build your own community. Like there's people that are touring and these people are touring and they never really cross paths, but they sell out a 1,000 place stadium or whatever arena, or I guess it would be a venue is what I'm looking for the word. And they do. So this is the era of like niche markets. There's like 10 different rap subgenres and I don't even cross paths with 9 out of 10 of them. So, that's optimistic. I think if you are good at something and you do it, you can get away with it. Someone said, what do I think of China buying up farms? Yeah, I haven't. I mean, in America or Africa. I know they're doing a lot of stuff in Africa. Um, Here, I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen it specifically recently, but I think that seems to be what a lot of people are doing. Bill Gates, them buy farmland. Land is finite, so they want it. If you have a lot of money, it's a smart investment. This is where I think that America is kind of screwing up. I believe in free enterprise and stuff, but I think we're too weak in the point of like, in some countries, you can't just like, they don't let foreign countries just buy up a bunch of their land. Because say American billionaires bought up 50% of China, at a certain point, China would not be running under the nationalist Chinese Communist Party. It would be manipulated by America. So I'm not for communism and I'm not for authoritarianism, but I do think that there should be some laws where, if you are a foreign conglomerate, that you should not be allowed to just scoop up like millions of acres and stuff. I don't think that's very smart. And I would support Mexico or India or any country to do that because, I don't think that's very wise. America's like open season, and it's not just the left. I think even the right's too weak on this. And at this point, we're like, we're in too deep that it would just, people would be like, oh my God, that's racist or that's so terrible. But it's like, I don't know. It seems like a bad idea to allow like foreign conglomerates and billionaires to just buy up like all our stuff. That definitely doesn't seem like a good idea at all. But this is how soft America is, like 80 years. And once again, I don't agree with this, so I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying this used to happen. Like we were in World War II. Things got crazy. Pearl Harbor happened, whatever. And then they put people in internment camps. I don't agree with that. Obviously, that's before my time. I would hate to do that to anybody, any of my brothers and sisters in America of any ethnic group. But that used to be what America did. That's the type of stuff. Some people in the world are still on that type of mentality. You know what I'm saying? And in America, we went the total other way. I don't want to go that far. I'm not suggesting that. I never would. But it's like we're like so far in the other direction where like we won't even stop people from like buying certain stuff. It's like, yeah, you could just steal our stuff. Yeah, you could just take everything. It's like that's not a good idea because there are certain countries that don't like us and don't have the agenda. So America has been like open season for 100 years and maybe not 100 years, but like 50 years. And I don't know. I think we have very lax laws according to some of the other superpowers, but we'll see how it works out. Because there's got to be a balance where you're not being too wicked and authoritarian, obviously, but to be like, we don't even care. I've mentioned this a few times, but in Israel, I don't know if this is still the case, but in Israel, they have a law that I think is very smart. They have a rule that if you serve in the Knesset, which is the equivalent to the Israeli Congress, I guess, or the Israeli government, if you serve in the Knesset in Israel, you're not allowed to be a dual citizen. You're not allowed to be a Russian Israeli. You're not allowed to be an American Israeli. They make you, and I believe this is still going, but the article that I read was from a couple years ago, so it might have changed, but it might still be the same. And they would make you get rid of your foreign citizenship. Like you could be like, oh, I'm an American Israeli. They don't care. They're like, get rid of your American citizenship. You serve Israel now. I think that's a great idea. I don't look at Israel and say, oh my God, they're bigots. They're anti-Americans. They hate me. I'm like, no, that's actually really smart. Like, make sure you serve Israel. And we don't want you serving two masters. In America, we don't do that. We have dozens of people that have dual citizenship and laws on record that say that you are a hate monger if you say that that's happening. So, America's kind of weak in that way, in my opinion, where other countries take way bigger measures to try to make sure that the people that are, in high level positions are serving them and not a foreign nation. And in America, that's not the case. We don't really have these type of laws and rules. Someone said China doesn't like us and will use our farms to their advantage. For sure. I think China's pretty straightforward about, how they feel. Um, I would say if it's like the wolf and the fox comparison, China's the person they're not really pretending to do anything besides what they want to do, where I'm equally as concerned with people that pretend like they're helping us, but they're not. So at least China's somewhat straightforward about it. They're not like pretending. I guess at a certain point, it's like a power game. And once you get too much, it's such a weird system. I think they have us by the balls personally, because even in 2020, when Trump was saying, oh, China, like he was talking a lot of trash to China. I get it. I'm glad we have a leader that likes America, but I would say, how much products do we get from China? Like, could we even live without them at this point? You know what I'm saying? So Trump could talk trash about China, but in some ways, and I don't know, maybe we have some stuff on China where like they need some of our stuff. And that's good. It's always good to have leverage. If you have a business transaction, you want to have leverage and be like, yo, you can't live without me. So I gotta really study it more, the China America trade-off, but they definitely have us by the balls, and hopefully we have them by the balls in some way, because if not, it's like we could talk all the trash we want, but maybe that's why so many politicians are complacent, because if China wants to stop doing something, like there's a lot of industries in America that they really dominate, and we get a lot of imports from them, or we get a lot of, I think even in certain pharmacy areas, like they were saying that some stuff comes from China. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I would have to look at what America has, because we have to have something that they need as well. And maybe that's why it works. But that's how China moves. China's not dumb. They're not going to like bomb you or anything. It's like they're going to slowly just whittle us down, because like they have leverage. And if we ever, if a certain politician flexes too hard, they could do something. In some ways, I feel like, I'm not trying to start a theory, but I feel like America and Trump started really, going after China a little bit. And Trump was like, blah, 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 Hong Kong. And like, I'm not saying this is why 2020 happened, but I feel like Pompeo and Trump were really trying to meddle with China's business with Hong Kong. And I don't think China liked that very much. And I believe that, there's possibilities that they retaliated in a way that is, covert and not really on the, it's not easy to trace and stuff. And so we'll see. But it's like they definitely don't, I feel like in 2016 to 2019, people were like, yeah, China, China, China. And then 2020, America's just on its back, lockdown, pharmacy products everywhere. And China just starts operating as normally again. And they're like, ha ha ha. And like, I felt like America got absolutely bamboozled in a 5-dimensional chess way. Like China outplayed America ridiculously, but there's got to be something that America has on China, like business wise, that keeps us competitive. Somebody would probably know better, but if they want to just say, oh yeah, you want to talk shit to us? Okay. We're not going to give you any of these products. We're going to hold off for 2 years. Maybe they couldn't afford that. Maybe that's why it works, because they need our money. But it's always wise to move the chess pieces and make sure you have leverage before you do something crazy. Because if you're just talking trash and you don't have the leverage, China's not dumb. So I'm trying my best. I can't control what politicians are doing, etc. But my way of trying to really help that out is, and this is a very, very, very small contribution, but usaproductsonly.com. I'm trying to, and once again, I'm doing really not that much, definitely something for some small businesses, but I'm trying to figure out a way to make it cool to buy stuff in America with my website, usaproductsonly.com. It's going slow. I'm very busy, but that, we at least have helped, I would say, dozens of small businesses get more traffic that make stuff in the USA. At the same time, though, this is something people don't think about as well. If you make a lot of stuff in the USA, there is a lot more pollution. Like in China, like Beijing is so polluted. It's so disgusting. So everything kind of comes at a cost. We could say, oh, we want to make all this in the USA. We do need to make more in the USA and be self-sufficient. But self-sufficiency comes at a cost if you're just, if there's smokestacks in the air and then nobody can breathe in your cities and stuff. So, on one hand, there's a way to manipulate it, but China, they're just, it's like Beijing. I wouldn't want to live there. I don't care how much products they're making. Donna said, hey, you a turncoat? No. What part of what I said bothered you? This is the crazy part. I don't even say anything like controversial, or we're just having a conversation. People are like, "Are you a turncoat?" What did I'll give you a chance to respond because I find it interesting. But Donna, what part of like the last 10 or 20 minutes, what part of this made you think that? Because I'm just genuinely curious. I'm not mad at you. I just want to hear like what part of the last part of the conversation made you think like, man, are you a turncoat? I just want to hear it. Someone said, "Don't feed the trolls." They're not trolls though. They're just people that are hearing something differently. You know. What do I know about the Nova Max, please? Are you talking about Nova Max? All right, I guess she's not going to answer. What is a turncoat? A turncoat's like someone who switches teams. Like if you're like British and you're like a spy or something, or you like, like a turncoat is like a traitor, somebody who's like, you know, a traitor to your country, or like turns their back. I don't know where the term officially came from. I think from like the British days, but yeah, a term in the Revolutionary War, somebody said. Someone said we've been lied to about history. That's true. Someone said you're not a turncoat. No, I know I'm not. I want to give people like sometimes people get upset and I'm just curious. I'm like, what? Because it's not gonna like bother me, but I'm just curious. I'm like, what part of what because I felt like the last 10 minutes wasn't even like crazy or controversial. Someone said very good point about causing too much pollution. For sure. I mean, all this comes at a cost, you know? That's why it's weird to me. We were talking about like chill stuff and then someone got really upset. Someone said women should be silent. Hey, they said it, not me. I didn't say that. I wouldn't say that. We love our women here. All right. We're going to ignore her now. Berlin said anomaly does not dig deep enough. All right, Berlin, you're on the floor, brother. I'm going to give you a chance. What would be digging deep enough for you? Let me know, Berlin. I'll give you a couple minutes. He said anomaly does not dig deep enough. People say don't feed the trolls. I wouldn't say it's feeding the trolls. I would say I read comments of people who compliment me and agree with me, so I feel like it's fun and fair to also read comments of people who don't like it. So I think that's probably why people who don't agree with me watch the platform, because I actually read their comments sometimes, because I'm not trying to just read people who agree with me. What would be digging deep enough for you, brother? Let me know. Frank said real quick with a super chat, I never get ill because I know what vitamins, minerals, and foods are best to boost your immune system. Why doesn't our government promote alternatives? They want us to be sick. I hear you, my man. I used to get sick a lot more, Frank. I know we've talked about it, but I used to party more, smoke more, eat shitty. You know what I'm saying? Like these are things I don't do anymore. So I very rarely get sick because obviously like I'm way more self-aware of what I'm doing. So this idea that they're promoting do whatever you want all the time, whatever, nothing matters except for vaccines. It's the most obvious lie to anybody with half a brain. Like anybody that's improved their health in any way ever knows that that's bullshit. You know, you can't just eat macaroni and cheese and smoke, cigarettes and weed and party every day and think that you're going to be healthy. Someone said made in China means quality. China buys massive amounts of food for the US because they will not allow their own people to farm. People feeding themselves does not deserve socialism. I've never heard that, but maybe that's what we do for them. No, he responded. The guy who said I didn't dig deep enough, he said watch this documentary and we'll talk. I've actually watched that documentary, dude. So I talk about other stuff though. I don't just like talk about a topic you want me to talk about. I've mentioned even parts of it in this live stream, but for some people, it's never enough. They want you to do what they do and say what they say every second. And it's not your show, but appreciate. Someone said toxic. China has the most toxic air and soil in the world. I believe it. Someone said anomaly. You're cool. Appreciate it. Astro Worlds. I've talked about it so many times. I'm just kind of leaving it where it is. But I mean, I've already mentioned it, and I think you could figure out what I think about it. It's probably what you think. Do I hear from the Holy Spirit? Hold on. I just heard he told me to put this helmet on and wear 5 masks. Was that the Holy Spirit or was that Fauci? Sorry, I can't I get them confused sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, do I think that God communicates with me in some form? But I can't say I'm one of those people that's like, zoop. Oh, hold on, folks. Hold on, folks. The Lord just communicated me. 66% off mypillow.com. I'm just playing, but no, I don't. I mean, I'll let you know if He directly communicates with me. But I think God works through everyone in some ways. But I don't. I'm not gonna say that He's zapping in my head and giving me messages directly from. I'll let you know. I promise. On that note, though, the sale ends tomorrow. No, maybe it ends Monday. I don't even know. Maybe tomorrow, but 3 days only. So I guess 3 days tomorrow. 3 days only, dreamrare.com, 20% off everything. Real sale, not fake. Get it cheaper now, or else you just don't. I don't know. Maybe I'll extend it till Monday because Cyber Monday, Transformation Tuesday. It's like the sales never end. It's like, let's get over with this already. Someone said, yeah, dude, I felt bad after arguing with you on Twitter. Anomaly. Cheers, dude. I don't even remember, but it's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you for arguing with me. It's okay. All right, 1 or 2 more and then we'll roll out. I always say I'm gonna keep it under this, and then I don't. But someone said Anomaly doesn't pick sides, he just speaks truth. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my opinions and stuff, but I think like it's easy to fool certain people when when you just put your head in the sand. I think that's not a good way to be. So I don't, you know, I definitely agree with certain people more than others. I consider certain people on my side more than others. But if I learn information that goes against what I previously thought, or if I learn information that's maybe inconvenient to say because, the people on my side don't want to hear it, I don't really care. To me, this is not high school. Like, I feel like I'm not, especially in politics, I'm one of the younger people. I'm not that old for the people in like politics and media. They act like it's high school. Like, it's like so childish. So it's like so many people know more than they'll say. So many people know the stuff I know. They just don't want to say it because it's high school and they don't want the cool kid table to keep them out. Or it's like, it's so crazy to me. I'm like, man, some people really never grow up. And I mean, that's okay to some extent, have fun, be a kid inside or whatever. But yeah, I don't. It's like so many people, they think it's like the Mean Girls. It's like Lindsay Lohan versus Jesse Jane Johnson. Oh, did you hear what Jesse said? Did you hear what AOC said? Did you hear what Lauren Boebert said? Did you hear what Marjorie Taylor Greene said? She's friends with the QAnon shaman. Can you believe that? Yeah, but can you believe what Rashida Tlaib said? Yeah, but did you see what Ilhan Omar tweeted? Did you see what, did you see that? Yeah. And I'm like, guys, can we talk about what's actually happening? They're like, oh, are you a turncoat? Oh, what are you, a liberal? Oh, are you suggesting that printing $9 trillion is a bad idea? When Joe Biden does it, it's so bad. But when Trump does it, it's so cool. It's so cool because I want to go to Mar-a-Lago. I want to go to Mar-a-Lago and talk about how we printed money and it's so dope. And Operation Warp Speed's so sick. Like, let's just give Big Pharma $18 billion and brag about it because we wear elephants on our head. You're like, oh, you're like, when I do it, I put a space mask. Oh, it's Space Force. Like, yeah, big government's bad, but let's just create a whole new agency and call it Space Force, and that'll be cool because we're cool when we do it. And then we'll call Operation Warp Speed, make people think like Space Force, but we're really just selling out and everybody like. It's like I'm just like, what? Like, it's not high school for me. Okay, I done been to high school. I went to college. I dropped out and listened to too much Sublime, if you know what I mean. But I don't got time for these little games. Like, we can, when we're hypocrite, it's cool because we're fighting Nancy Pelosi. You're like, how old are you again? You're like 56? You know, acting like a 17-year-old? Someone said Anomaly stole a spacesuit. No, I didn't steal it. It's just mine. When can we start taking Australian refugees? Probably never, because the people who run this country hate white people, but I think there's a conversation for it. So, Anomaly, read Romans 1 on your podcast. Not right now. I don't have the Bible in front of me, but you could read it. They literally call themselves a squad. Yeah, it's like, ooh, the squad versus the new girls on the block. New girls. Girl power. It's like, I don't know. Maybe Sharia law would be better. No, I'm just kidding. But girl power. The guys in politics are even worse, like Adam Schiff. It's just like, unfortunately, guys are not leading by example, so that it doesn't even work. But did you guys see the Taliban video? That was so funny. They were like, what do you think about girls in politics or something? Like they asked them a question about women in politics, and the Taliban literally was just like, they're like, this interview's done. They're like, get it, like, come on, stop. Like that was kind of epic. Like I thought that was hilarious. They're like, what do you think about women serving in like powerful positions? And they're like, go back to the Western world. Like, get out of here. That was like the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it was funny. Also, North Korea has a really cool water park in North Korea too, and I've tweeted about that. People are like, but what about Kim Jong-un? I'm like, he's hilarious. I mean, I don't justify everything he does, but I want to read real quick. This was an article that came out, and I was like, based? Where is it? It said new. Kim Jong-un bans leather coats to stop citizens from copying his look. So allegedly, Kim Jong-un is banning leather coats because he doesn't want people copying his fresh look. I like that. I think that's hilarious. He's just like, no leather coats for anyone but me. I'm like, okay. Is that supposed to make me not like him? Because that's like the funniest thing ever. He's always got the thick ankle, like he's got the huge cuffs too, and he's just like, he's just chilling. Someone said Sigma Chad move. Exactly. It's so funny. I'm gonna read this, and then I'll probably take off. Thank you guys for being here. Cameron said, "Hey Anomaly, have you seen people that think that China isn't communist?" Had an interesting conversation with someone about that. I've heard that because I think a lot of like left-wing socialists and progressives and communists, like they're not going to tell you, but most socialists like communism. Like I'm not trying to like blow their cover, but like a lot of these like dedicated like democratic socialists, they got like pictures of Karl Marx on the wall and stuff. Like they know what they're doing. They just don't want to say it. But in general, they were sold the lie that communism is for the workers. So every time communism gets implemented, let me find my book real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, okay. I have it here because I want to read this for them. They were told that communism is going to give the workers all the power, right? So anytime it happens, like in China, What is China? It's they're not even pretending to not be communist. They're like, this is what we're doing. We're doing communism. But the socialists think, no, 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 no. We're supposed to get the power, not the government. This is in the book. This is the Communist Manifesto. I've highlighted it. You can see I've highlighted all the best parts of the book because I'm lit like that. I'm going to just read right out of the book. And I do this a lot, but anybody that wants to read it for themselves, feel free. It's garbage, but it's interesting to know how sneaky Karl Marx really was and Frederick Engels. Number 1, they have a list. Abolishment of property and land and application of all land to public purposes, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax, abolition of all right of inheritance, confiscation of the property of all immigrants and rebels, centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with a state capital and an exclusive monopoly, centralization of means of communication and transport in the hands of the state. So in the Communist Manifesto, it says that centralization of credit in the hands of the state, which is the government, a national bank with a exclusive monopoly. What person? I'm not trying to be mean, but any socialist or progressive or communist that thinks, oh yeah, the workers are going to get the power. It's not real communism. That's just China. You know, he's not doing what Karl Marx said. Guys, they want total control of the money, a monopoly. A monopoly means no competition, centralization of communication, centralization of transportation. What do you think happens when the government takes all communication, all private property, all transportation, and all money? What do you think happens? You think the workers just get all the money and they're like, oh yeah, we finally got it because the government has everything. No, you lose everything. So they always say that it's not real communism because it doesn't work well and people die. And, you know, I mean, to be fair, modern China, they're not great, but I would say they're probably slightly better than Mao Zedong, who killed a lot of people, and Stalin and Lenin, etc. I would think that this regime's a little bit better than them, but they think that they're going to get the power and they're going to get the money and they're going to get the rights and they're going to get the freedom. But in the book, it just says like, hey, give the government literally everything. You have no means of anything, no means of communication that doesn't go through the government, no means of transportation that doesn't go through the government, no means of property. You have no privacy, no private property. Like, these are the best parts of America. Private property. This is mine, not the government's. Freedom of speech, Second Amendment. This is like why America is better than everyone else. It's not because, oh, we're so special. I mean, in a little bit, but in general, we have a constitution that puts space between the government and ourselves. Communist Manifesto eliminates that. That's why when you read books like COVID-19, The Great Reset, he's talking essentially about communism. In his own words, he's like talking about how creative destruction is bad and government intervention's better, and, you know, that competition's bad. This is like similar rhetoric that Karl Marx used. Like, yeah, we don't want competition. We don't want creative destruction. You know, yeah, we just want everything. We'll take it and we'll do better. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Someone said Cuba is better than Mao. I agree. Mao was one of the worst people ever. But in general, it doesn't work because it's not supposed to work. It's not for the people. I can't think of a worse system than Communist Manifesto. So all these left-wingers, they think that it's like this system where they get things. And here's my one critique. I'm not a critic, but my one critique to right-wingers: most right-wingers have never read the Communist Manifesto. So when they talk to socialists and progressives, they say, oh, it's so naive and it's so foolish, or like, oh, it doesn't work. And like, they haven't read it, which is fine. But I'm just saying, to me, the greatest talking point to like really try to convince a socialist would be like, in the book, I've highlighted it. You can read it right here. I'm sorry it's backwards on Facebook, but it's like, it literally says confiscation of all property of immigrants and rebels, centralization in the hands of the state with a national bank with a state capital and an exclusive monopoly, centralization of communication. No, like, duh, it's going to end in death, slavery, government tyranny by design. It's not designed for the workers. There's nothing in this book that makes me be like, Yeah, this is for the working class. And I seriously thought, because I'm not one of these people that I'm gonna read it and be like, oh, it's stupid. Maybe I was gonna be like, oh, it's actually pretty good. I was underwhelmed. I actually expected more because I was like, it must be good, right? It must be a good book if everybody believes it. I'm like, there must be something to it. It's like the biggest trap ever. It's like, come here, patriots, come stand in this hole, with a carrot. It's like it's that stupid to me. I'm like, so that's why they think that China is not communist, because they think that communism will go to the people and the workers, but by design, communism puts everything into the hands of the government. And the irony behind this is you have people that are critical of Kamala Harris because they're left wing and they say, Kamala, you need to do this and you needed to do this. So on one hand, they don't like Kamala Harris. They don't like Joe Biden, but they want Joe Biden to be more communist. They want them to be more socialist. What is socialism? It's giving more money and power to the state by design, especially communism, to be more specific. So say there's a tax thing. This is what I feel like maybe if it was said to progressives in this way, they would start to wake up a little bit. But like, say Bernie Sanders, he says the government's so corrupt. You say the government's so corrupt. I say the government's corrupt. The people that you claim to hate in Alabama, they think the government's corrupt. We all can agree that the government's corrupt, whether you don't like Trump or Biden, whatever. We agree on that, right? So what's your solution? Well, we're going to tax Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Okay, sure. Where's that money going to go? To the government. That's why they're sucking all the money away from people. It's not just the billionaires. They're sucking everything away. And then you're going to give total power to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's what they want. Oh, you're not far left enough. You need to do more. You want them to have more money and more power? They're not just taking it from Bezos. They're not just taking it from Elon Musk. They're not just taking it from Donald Trump. They're going to take your money too. And that's clear in any state that they run. They charge more for this. They charge more for that. They make things that you're not allowed to opt out of. Oh, you can't opt out of this healthcare. You can't opt out of this policy. Oh, universal healthcare. Everyone deserves healthcare unless you get a vaccination, then you're not. This is what big government control looks like. So, I don't know how to get through to certain people, but by design, communism is funneling not just some, all of the money and all of the power into the government. And that's what they want. So they hate Kamala Harris, but they want her to have more money and power. They hate the government, but they want the government to have more money and power. That's why socialism is stupid. When I liked Bernie Sanders, I never understood socialism. I never claimed to. I never liked his tax policy. He got me with this fake rhetoric that he's taking on Hillary Clinton. That's what sold me, because I had instinct. I was like, well, Hillary Clinton, I don't like her, So that's how Bernie got me. I was never into his tax policies and stuff. It wasn't until after that I learned. I think everything hit me at once. I learned, I researched, and I turned 26. I had to pay for healthcare. Everything hit me at once. And I was like, whoa, wow, that was wrong. But the people that are like dedicated socialists, the ones that like really believe in this stuff, that read this and have the posters on their wall, they're very, very foolish. So, that's why people don't think China is really communist, because they think for some reason that communism is going to lead to them getting money and power or freedom. And it's the total opposite, unfortunately. And I want to say this too. This is probably going to shock certain people, but when it comes to Cuba is communist, but they're local communists, right? They're not in on this global communist sort of thing. They're trying to do their own thing. In America, you have people that are working with people that are doing global communism. So they see Cuba as a threat, not why the right-wing pages that post this stuff, they'll tell you, oh, Cuba, we got to stop communism there. I'm not saying it's good. I know there's a lot of Cubans that came to America and they're so grateful to be here because it's better. And I'm not saying Cuba's good. But the real reason that you see all this press about Cuba is because they're doing local communism and they're doing state communism. And that's a threat to global communism. So any country, whether it be North Korea, whether it be Cuba, whether it be, certain places like Libya that wants to get away from the banks, or Syria that's not playing ball with the global cabal, they will target them, not because they're trying to save you or save Cuba. They want Cuba to be in tune with the communists who want the whole world to be running under their philosophy. So, I don't support regime change in Cuba because I know it's not good. They're trying to get vaccines to Cuba. They're trying to get Cuba to play ball with the World Health Organization. And right wingers kind of got duped into being like, oh, yeah, this is such a good revolution. It's a fake one. I'm not saying it's fake because there are people there, but they're trying to get them to play ball with everybody. And I believe that we need certain places to stay away, like America. We need to do our own thing. Yes, we have to work together, but we do not want to go the path of letting somebody in the world centralize all the power, all the money, which they've already almost completely done. That's a nightmare. There needs to be a little bit of diversity and somebody breaking it away. So the reason that myself and maybe Jorge Masvidal, somebody mentioned, the reasons that we might not like Cuba or we might want Cuba to be better are not the same reasons that the media want them to be different. And people need to figure this out because they're getting people to do certain things that are not really in the greatest benefit for the world, in my opinion. But, that's their like anybody that's separate, like Belarus. That's another example. They're not communist, but they have a dictator, and I would say it's not completely true because they have elections there, but in general, he's not playing ball with the whole world. So if you look at Lukashenko of Belarus, you watch interviews from him, he's not playing with the NGOs. He didn't shut down for coronavirus. He said to drink whiskey and play hockey, and people, mocked him. They called him a dictator, and he said, "Yeah, I'm a like." I guess some gay person said, "Oh, you're a dictator." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a dictator, but at least I'm not gay." Like this guy just doesn't give a crap. Like he's like even funnier than Trump in some ways, but I don't want to say funnier, but he's just like maybe gives less, what's than even Trump. But in general, they're trying to tell you, and it's not just the left wing. You have people like Richard Grenell, who seems like a nice guy, but he was like, "Oh, there's a revolution in Belarus. Yeah, this is good." And I'm like, dude, Lukashenko, whether you like him or not, he won the election. He won fair and square. You could say it wasn't fair, but I don't know that. Was our election fair? They complain about they focus on our election. Anyway, he won the election. You had all these left-wing protests and they were trying to like stage a revolution sort of thing. And you had even right-wingers saying, "Oh, he's a dictator. We need to get rid of him." Why do right-wingers even want to get rid of him? Mind our own business. They want to get rid of him because he's not playing with the rest of the world, And a lot of these people on the right, on one hand, they're definitely pushing back against some tyranny and some communism, but in another hand, they're working with a different group in some ways, and they seem to be bothered whenever there's somebody who doesn't play ball. Similar to, I mean, this is not completely related to it, but someone like Julian Assange, they don't like Julian Assange because although he helped them win the election, he's doing a little too much he's talking too much. They're like, I don't like that guy so much. So, when it comes to Lukashenko or I guess I would say Syria or Cuba, I'm not going to say that their system is amazing because it's not, but the real reason that there's so much effort from both parties to break that up, just like in Africa, where it's like, oh, they're not listening enough. It's like they're not trying to bring wealth and freedom to Africa. They're trying to get everybody to follow suit and have this global thing where everybody does everything at the same time, which by definition, if they control the money, the transportation, the speech, that's what's in the book, the Communist Manifesto. Someone said Anomaly's tripping. Someone said Anomaly's on fire. I guess that's life. Everyone has their different perspective. Anomaly's tripping. Anomaly's on fire. Anomaly's lost his damn mind. Yo, Anomaly knows what he's talking about. I guess it really depends how you see it. Have I looked into Texas's Texit position? I have not. Who is Vanguard and who is BlackRock? Oh, Vanguard. I think he's the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, right? And BlackRock, isn't that new rookie who runs for Dallas Cowboys? No, I'm just kidding. Vanguard and BlackRock, they own a lot of stuff, I would say. Someone said MSM are just demonizing him because he won't follow the global people. I know because I live in Estonia. Oh no, for sure. Lukashenko is a huge threat because he's not following the global agenda. And here's what I'm trying to tell people though. This is why you can't just play team red or team blue, because even Republicans are trying to get him out of power. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would a Republican want this? Why would they focus on some guy in another country? Because at a certain point, folks, the game that people think is being played is not quite the game that's being played. And I'm not acting like I know everything, but in general, it's like there's reasons that certain people, like with Cuba and Lukashenko, I don't think the reasons that the right wing is telling you are the reasons why it's happening. Someone said Trump put a lot of BlackRock people in power. I would have to look it up, but I'm not surprised. I think Trump did a really great job of saying that he was like outside the system, and he also put in a lot of pharmacy lobbyists, bankers. I could tell you who he's really working for, or at least I'm not going to say directly because he's his own person, but I've told people earlier in this stream who the right wing is, who the Republican Party is, what their main agenda is. You could think it sounds hateful, you could say it's fake, but at the end of the day, that is the priority. There's a word for it, and that is what they are serving. That is their main priority. This is their main goal. And as far as you and your freedom and stuff, unfortunately, it takes a back seat, right? They're not as bad as the Democrats, but what you think they're doing or what people think they're doing and what they're really doing are two different things. Thank you, Earth Press TV. I appreciate you. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate you. Someone said capitalism isn't sustainable. That's why capitalist class is leading us to fascism. I hear what you're saying, but I would say at a certain point, nothing's ever going to be fair. Nothing seems to last forever, right? You could be the healthiest person in the world. You could eat right. You could drink right. You could exercise every day. You're probably not going to live forever. So even the greatest system ever created, the greatest constitution ever created, nothing lasts forever. I think that that's true. But the system that we're doing, like, it's not true capitalism. Someone said, how long until this disguise is removed? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you talking about this disguise, mama? No, but in general, I think if you follow capitalism in America, it's not been true free market for a long time. So, at a certain point in every industry, the government came and did something and did something and did something. So I don't think this is capitalism. Like some people will say, dude, capitalism's dying. Like you can't tell me that 2020, take Trump out of it, because I know people are going to freak out if I say his name. Take Trump out of the situation. Let's call him Blonald Blumph, okay? We're going to call him Blonald Blumph, because if we call him Donald Trump, people say, dude, you hate Donald Trump. You just want to do. So let's call him Blonald Blumph, okay? Let's say there was a fake president named Blonald Blumph in 2020. 2020 was not capitalist. There's nothing capitalist about it. So they went full socialist, full communist, printed money, destroyed everything that made America a free place and a free market. And then people say, oh, looks like capitalism failed. Oh, no, that's a shame that capitalism failed, just like the Nazis and fascism. It's like, what? What are you talking about? That's not it's not capitalism. It's not capitalism when you shut down the entire country. It's not capitalism when you shut down the borders. It's not capitalism when you allow certain businesses to thrive and certain businesses to shut down. Nothing about that was capitalism. And that wasn't the first time that socialism has come to America. From the Federal Reserve creation in 1918, I believe. And, through the years, the government has been growing, taking power, Food and Drug Administration, Center for Disease Control, creating new laws, creating new things. This is not capitalism. So is capitalism perfect? No. Is crony capitalism a thing? Of course. Would true capitalism last forever? I don't think anything lasts forever. But this idea that capitalism did this when they just imploded the entire system through the opposite of free market competition. It's like, this is how they got. Someone said, how long till Donald Blumph is back out in office? I don't know. But Donald Blump is a historical fictional character because I don't want to say the other guy's name because people will cry about it. I get in this I got in this I've been in multiple debates and people like, I mean, I'll say stuff about Trump, but people will be like, you just hate him. You have Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm like, bro, I don't care if Donald Duck was president in 2020. Like, this isn't a personal thing for me. Like, oh my God, I'm only saying it because of Trump. I was like, bro, Donald Duck could have been president, being like, wah, and I would have been like, bro, you're printing too much money. He's like, wah, I'm raising Wall Street, wah. And I'm like, it's like literally Donald Duck. I would have been like, bro, it's not a good idea to funnel $18 billion to big pharma. That's a disaster. That's a socialist nightmare. Oh, you're just saying that because you hate Trump. I'm like, no, I just don't believe it. That was a good thing. I don't care if it was Obama, Biden, Donald Duck, or freaking Mario from Nintendo. Like, it's not something that I think is good. So I'm not going to pretend like it's good. Like, this is why I say like politics is high school. Like, I would normally be against that, but when my guy does it, I'm going to sell Trump calendars and, let's go Brandon sweaters, and I'm just going to ignore it. And it's like, okay, but damn well if Obama did that, you would have been like, that's corrupt, that's whack. But if Donald Duck does it, then all of a sudden everybody quacks till the cows come home. So people constantly accuse me of being like so hateful, and I'm like, no, I just don't. I don't like. You want me to? Some guy said, I commented something on Bryson Gray's Instagram. I love Bryson, by the way. And it wasn't Bryson who commented it. It was some guy who follows him. I said something about printing all the money, right? I was just like, yeah, I'm not a fan of that. And this guy's like, he starts making excuses for socialism. Like he's like a far left, like progressive, even though he's a conservative. And he's like, oh, you have a problem with all that Trump printing? Oh, I bet you cashed that check, though. And I'm like, dude, you might as well go work for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Like, yeah, of course I cast my check. I'm not just going to sit and let my money rot, but it doesn't mean that I wanted to be locked inside and have the federal government print trillions of dollars. Like, yeah, I'm going to cash the check, but I don't have to ethically agree with that. If Obama did the same thing, I would have cashed the check too, but I wouldn't have agreed with it. But I'm not going to let my money sit there. If it's $1,200, yeah, you're damn right I'm going to cash it. But it's like so quickly they can turn a conservative into a socialist and they don't even realize it because they're so emotional about the characters involved. Where I'm not like that, but they're the ones accusing me of that. They're like, oh yeah, you cashed a check. You like welfare, huh? And I'm like, you don't even realize that what you're doing is defending an ideology that you don't believe in because the person there is doing it. And I'm just not doing that. So it's been a wild ride, but it's cool. All right, I'm going to take off, folks. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Shout out Donald Duck. We love Donald Duck. We love all animals here. You know what I'm saying? Free the ducks from the cages. They're being oppressed out here, and it's something no one else is addressing. Jokes aside, I have a sale until Sunday night. I maybe will extend it to Monday, but for right now, it's set in the website dreamrare.com or godblesshats.com. You type that in, godblesshats.com or dreamrare.com, DREAMRARE. It's under my title on Facebook. It's in the description on YouTube. Sweatshirts, hats, tank tops, everything on my site, 20% off with the code 3 days only, all one word, 3 days only. Capital, lowercase, I don't think it matters, but try capital. 3 days only, one word, promo code, 20% off, real sale. You could go back to 2 weeks ago. Everything's the same price. Now, same price, and it's 20% off. It's a real sale. Shipping on my stuff is not always the cheapest because we ship it all in the USA. I work with a USA small business. We really do it. We're not Amazon. We're not working with a big conglomerate. I'm not working with Printful or one of these businesses. I'm working with like my own warehouse. I don't own it, but the guy that I work with does. So, this is the time to really save. You can save quite a bit if you buy a bit, and it's not going to be around for that long. Cause listen, I like to make a profit. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I mean, I can't afford to do this forever, but no, jokes aside, go get your sale. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting. 3 days only is the promo code. I'm going to read one more comment because She said, I probably shouldn't read this, but maybe this is is this the Amy that was yelling at me the other day? Man, people who don't like to hear me love to hear me. They're like, Anomaly, I hate your live stream. I just listened for 3 hours. I'm like, sheesh, I must be the best, worst person ever. Anomaly, I respect your opinion, but that doesn't mean you know everything and you're correct in or your only opinion. You don't know the situation which the president had to work, but you act like you know everything and flip when questioned. Amy, I think you got some personal issues or something going on with yourself. And I hope that you do some jumping jacks, maybe run in place for a little bit, drink some water, and have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. I don't think that I don't claim that I know everything. And I'm guessing what's happening here is maybe you need a sweatshirt or a hat because you're cold. And that's why I got 3 days only is the promo code dreamrare.com. But I think it just bothers you what I'm saying. And retaining certain new information might not be what you want to hear, but I'm not saying I know everything, but you're not really saying anything at the same time. So, God bless you. And I appreciate you for loving me so much. Despite the fact that you complain about all my live streams, you somehow stay for hours. So I appreciate that you like me that much. God bless you.